Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Small Success Podcast. I am so glad you joined us today. My name is Pam Downing. I'm the marketing and operations strategist here at Larison Media, and I'm here in the studio with my co-host.
Hey, everybody. Drew Larison, founder and creative director of Larison Media. And as always, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Drew. Really glad you're here today because we are talking about something very specific. You might even say this is a niche podcast.
Yep.
Okay, I have really bad jokes. So today we're going to talk about being a peach. And if I haven't gotten your attention yet, I really want you to focus in, especially if you're a small business owner, because today we are talking about why finding a niche is really important for your small business. And if you are a fledgling entrepreneur or you're just starting out and you know you want to be your own boss, but you're just not sure what that looks like, we're hoping to offer you a couple tips and tricks today and give you some encouragement with whatever industry you're in, how to find your niche, once you find it, what to do, and where to go from there. So we can use your business as an example in this conversation.
I would say our business.
Our business. We also have a couple other examples that we were chatting a little bit about before we started recording, but I want to talk about this. A lot of small businesses will start out and try to be the best at everything. So let's say you start out and you are selling clothing in your store and you're selling home decor and you have a couple food items and maybe you have a couple books. The tricky thing is that's really, really hard to do. In this example, that's a lot of inventory. There is a lot of research. There is a lot of, I don't want to use the word guessing, but there's a lot of educated guessing that's happening to figure out who are your customers, what do they want to buy, what do you have to offer. It's creating a lot of work, and the appeal is to a really, really broad audience. So this idea of finding a niche is really narrowing your focus, figuring out what you love, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and then finding that lane and then running in it. So instead of trying to be good at many things, be the best at one thing or one arm of things, I should say. So let's say you really find that home decor is your strong suit. You decide to change your format and go with that. I'm not saying only sell pillows, but find what you're good at, what you're passionate about, where your gifts and talents lie, and play into that. The customers, the clients, your people will follow you because you're good at what you do. You're leading the way. You know who you are, and you know what you offer. Any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, specific is always better when it comes to business. And I would even argue a lot of people start a business with the idea of being very specific.
Sure.
You know, they find one thing they do love, and then they have that light bulb moment of like, you know what, I should do this. I like doing this. I'm talented at this. Let's run with this. And I would say I see quite a bit people that have had a business for a while doing that very specific thing, and maybe times get harder, sales drop for a little bit, and then out of worry and desperation, or even maybe it's a hard time getting that business that is very specific to the next level and maybe trying to get it to grow. And I feel like out of desperation and worry and lack of patience, a lot of small business owners that have a very specific idea and business plan, they're like, well, maybe we should do more. And then they start expanding on their idea. And really that happens just because, like I was saying, they feel like it's failing, or they feel like they don't feel like it, but they just don't have enough patience to really let it get out there and be specific. But then you see businesses just trying to stretch it and try to, I'm making this widget, but now here's a completely different widget we could make because you heard somebody at the store say you wish somebody would sell those.
Sure.
And people make a lot of decisions on widening the scope of their business off of way too many opinions. And that's something I see a lot, talking to business owners quite often. But really, it's a lack of patience that really leads to that. And lack of not really great expectations of what it's actually like to start a business. And if you think you're just going to blow up overnight and be this overnight success story, unfortunately, those don't exist. And a lot of people don't realize that when they get started. So it can go both ways. A lot of people, they just get really excited about starting a business and they just open up the shop and they sell things from hot dog buns to hot dog flavored candles, or, like whatever it is. Ugh. Yeah, that'd be gross. But you know what I mean? Like they open a general store when really what we're in, the world we're in now, specific is so much better. So I see people doing it that route, but I also see people just having a really big lack of patience, and they think like, well, shoot, my idea isn't working after 2 months of being open. Let's expand and let's try to be everything to everyone, when that just doesn't work.
Yeah. And as I was thinking through this and prepping the blog for this, part of me thought, well, is this a little counterintuitive? I feel like if you can be all things to all people, isn't that casting a wider net, so to speak? And so you cast a wider net, you catch more fish. It almost seems like if you narrow your focus, do you risk losing? I mean, there are people out there who are going to go searching for a hot dog scented candle.
God bless them.
God bless them. That may be 1 in 3,000 people, but they need a place to purchase their candles. But the interesting thing about it, and it does almost seem counterintuitive, but by doing some of this high level thinking, like taking a step back, really evaluating who you are, what you do, why you do what you do. And I mean, going to go out on a limb and say, if you're a small business owner, you're working really hard. You want to do a good job. You want to set yourself apart from competition, and focusing in is a great way to do that, because when you're confident in who you are sidebar, who you are as a person, but also when you're confident in who your business is and what you sound like and what you look like and what you do, it really makes a difference. We were chatting a little bit before the podcast about a local establishment here in town who we've kind of watched over the last, handful of months, maybe a year, do some testing and experimenting and really trying to figure out who they are and what they do. And now we're outsiders looking in, but it looks like they're casting that wide net and trying to be all things to all people, when really maybe what they need to do is focus in on their specialty and be the best them that they can be.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we're leaving out details, but I mean, it's a food and it's a restaurant type of business. And over the years, they were a very specific type of restaurant. People came to them. They had like that sports bar feel. It was in their name. And then, it's passed owners a few times, and the new owners were trying to figure out like really what type of bar do we want to be, yeah. And the next thing you see, they have like open mic nights, and then they have comedy nights, and then they have karaoke nights. And then for a while they were like a dance club type of thing. When really they're a sports bar, they're a sports pub, type of vibe. And they just tried to be everything. And every time they took a leap of faith to do something else, whether it was karaoke or whatever, they saw their business keep going down, so it's just, they tried to run way too much or way too far away from what they actually were. And the farther you go, it's not the things just get worse.
Sure.
Rather, if they just stayed who they were and what they were known for and doubled down on that, things would have ended up better.
And that, I mean, as someone who lives in the community, like that was part of what made that restaurant bar attractive.
Unique.
You knew what you were getting when you went there. You knew it was really good. Like the food was really good. The beer was cold. Like
sure.
You knew that atmosphere, but that is part of why we love it. It was consistent. It was great. You knew what you were getting every time. So,
yeah, imagine that. Like you have this brand of a sports pub in your head. You're going there to watch, like an NFL game on Sunday. And you're like, all right, let's go there. It's a sports bar. They'll for sure have the game. They probably have drink specials, whatever. And then you get there, and then like someone's with an acoustic guitar doing
Sure.
open mic night
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, so it's just, I feel like that probably happened over and over and over and compounded over and over and
Yeah.
over until it's just, that's where they're at now.
Yeah. Interesting spin-off conversation here, because I don't want to discourage small business owners from taking risks and doing some of those experiments, but maybe not such huge risks that it changes your brand identity. Maybe the risks that I'm thinking about are more like, one-off. Let's try this open house night in the evenings. Let's test out evening hours and see if there's interest. We'll try that over the course of 3 months. Or, they're small risks that still align with who you are and what you do. Because that's one of the amazing things about entrepreneurs is that you have the ability to take those risks and learn from those and potentially grow from those. But on the other hand, you always kind of want to keep your North Star of who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Well, risks is one thing, but I've said a few times, being an entrepreneur or a small business owner is really difficult. I can't imagine running a business that I was not extremely passionate about or found a lot of interest in. If you are that business, maybe trying to branch out and do something else, like make sure you really like that too.
Yeah.
Make sure you're really passionate about that new idea. Like if you're that restaurant and you're known for being a sports bar and you want to do an open mic night, like you better love music. You better love the idea of people singing and like local musicians coming in, because there's a chance that's not going to work because you are branching out of what your actual brand identity is. And if it's not going to work, but you're still pounding down on it and like you're kind of going insane trying to expand it in this way, it's just even going to be more exhausting if you don't actually care or like the idea of whatever you're expanding to. So let's say like you're a barbecue restaurant. Hey, let's start selling seafood. And you started that barbecue restaurant because you love the art of barbecue, the smoking meat, whatever that is. But like, I don't know, I heard somebody at the store say they like salmon. We should sell salmon. Do you like salmon? Nah, I don't really like it, but we should sell salmon.
Yeah.
If you start making decisions like that, it's a dangerous place to be. So just really, whatever you're expanding, whatever you're doing, make sure it makes sense with your brand, but also remember why you started your business in the first place. And if it makes just as much sense, this new idea, as the first one did, then okay, then that makes sense. But if those two things don't check off, probably not a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the examples I've thought about is, again, it must be close to lunchtime because we keep talking about restaurants today.
It usually is.
But is, a restaurant example, and, there's a big difference in saying, I'm going to open a restaurant, and saying, I'm going to open a vegan restaurant in an urban setting downtown in my city. Like, we've already learned two really specific things. Your menu is vegan, very, very specific niche audience for your customers, clients, and also the urban setting. That's very different. You're not going to have road trippers pulling off your highway exit. You're going to have, people who work downtown, maybe tourists. You'll have maybe a more diverse population to visit your restaurant. And once you know who you are and what you're doing, the flip side of that, in addition to what your customers who are there in person can expect, is your marketing can really change from being super broad and potentially vague. I don't know if I want to use that word. I think I will. Like really using overarching statements and trying to appeal to so many people. If you're a vegan restaurant downtown of a city, the way you market yourself will be very specific. It will look very different than if you were, that barbecue restaurant.
Yeah.
Your audience is different. Perhaps your age demographic may be different. There's just a lot of ways that you can help focus and clearly communicate who you are, what you do, what you offer, and why you're the best.
Yeah, the vegan example is a good example to use because let's say you start off as a vegan restaurant. You're going a few months, it's okay, you're figuring it all out, but then you really start hearing that comment, well, I'm not a vegan. a
Sure.
lot. So let literally say you start selling some non-vegan food
Yeah.
because of that idea of this isn't going well. I underestimated how many vegans there were in this area of town that would come here. Fine, we'll sell some meat products, some non-vegan food. You're just gonna lose everything that you
Yeah,
were. Everything that made you unique is officially gone. You're officially just like every other restaurant now.
Right. Right.
It's a dangerous place to be, and
Yeah.
it really. I keep going back to be more patient. Give it time. And honestly, if going back to vegan situation, if your business isn't going well because people are saying I'm not vegan, you're not doing a good job enough or good enough job selling to them or marketing to them. Try it.
Sure.
You know, if you eat vegan food, that doesn't mean you're a vegan. That means you're a person that happened to have a meal that was vegan.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not doing a good enough job marketing. You're not doing a good enough job of selling. That doesn't mean your business idea is a failure. It means you're failing at an area of your business, and that's marketing and sales. And that example could be used for any other, you know, type of industry or anything like that. People think, a lot of people have the attitude of, all right, I've set up shop, let's go, and just wait by the door. But that's not really how this works, especially if you're in a very specific niche that people, if it's a unique niche like veganism,
Yeah.
especially where we're from, that would be an extremely unique restaurant.
Yeah.
We're in the heart of the Midwest. There's not a lot of restaurants that are strictly vegan. So, I mean, need to have that expectation in the beginning. Like, I'm selling something extremely unique. I'm probably going to have a more difficult time than the barbecue guy down the road or whatever industry, whatever company it is that people are more familiar with.
Right.
But that doesn't mean your business is a failure.
Right.
That means you're just failing at the part of your business that you're going to have to work harder on than somebody else.
Yeah. A couple things in response to what you just said is you work hard. You have to be patient. It's that grind as you gain customers, as you gain followers. But when it's something that's that specific, and we're using, I don't know if I'd call it an extreme example, but you know, veganism is a very specific niche. Your customers will be so fiercely loyal once they find you or you find them, and they visit your restaurant and they taste your food and they have the experience that you exist to offer. They will be fiercely loyal. They will be with you until the end of time, because it is so specific. And depending on where you are, you know, if you don't have a lot of competition in the way of your niche, of course there's other restaurants in your downtown area, but are they vegan? Do they offer the service that you offer? Do they offer the experience that you offer? The other thing that I was thinking about is this is difficult, finding your niche and sticking with it, because you want your customers to be happy. So if you do hear some feedback like, oh, well, this food was great, just really wish you had a steak. Well, okay, this isn't the restaurant where you order a steak, and that's okay. Really coming to terms with who you are and being confident in that and really running with that, that people pleaser mentality won't get you very far if you're really trying to focus in on being niche specific in your small business. You cannot be all things to all people. Not every single person who walks through your door may be a raving fan, and that's okay. You may, if you're the vegan restaurant, are you for everybody? No. But if there are vegans or people who are just wanting to try it out, or people who like to eat, who are willing to visit your establishment, you can rock it out and be the best that you can be. And that is very difficult to let go of that people-pleasing mentality, you know, overhearing someone at the store and deciding to change your menu because you want people to try new things. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you've listened to Michael Jackson's Nose episode of this podcast, our friends Dustin and Lindsay Ogle were on, and Lindsay quoted Dita Von Teese, who said, you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world. Basically, you can be the best that you can be. And there's still someone out there who's not going to like peaches. And that can be very difficult to hear, but it really is true. And it's okay. And when you have that confidence in who you are and what you do, and you can really, really own that. Let's go with this peach analogy. You know that you are the best peach. You know that what your business offers is the best that you can do. You're going to have people who are raving fans and are super loyal and will always come back to you and do business with you. And then there's people out there who don't like peaches, and that can be a very difficult thing, but it's okay. And I love that analogy. When Lindsay shared that with us, that was such a light bulb moment for me, because it was like, that is so true. I happen to personally love peaches, don't really like cantaloupe. So if there's the best cantaloupe in the world, that's great. That's not my thing. I would rather have a peach.
Yeah, this in my head, this keeps going back to just the idea of self-awareness and how important it is. As we're talking about us caring a lot about like what people think about our business or like what our business sells or what it does. In my head, I'm going back to like, this is high school again. Like this is a teenager trying to figure out themselves and their identity and who they actually are.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment in high school where you think there's a group of people that are really cool and you want to be a part of that group. And for a short time, you change who you are, who you know. Well, maybe at that time you don't know who you are. Maybe this is a step to figure out who you actually are. And you join this group of friends, and then you quickly realize, oh, wait, I don't like this. I don't like being a part of this. I don't like being this type of person. And then, but you're deep in, and then you mess up that whole situation. Kind of the exact same thing is happening for small businesses.
Sure.
Especially in the first like 5 years, 3 to 5 years of business, you really are. Every day you should be taking a step forward, figuring out really who you are. What is your brand identity, your business identity? What do you want people to think of the minute they see your logo, the minute they see your company name? What are their thoughts that you desire for people? Figure that out. The same way we've talked about the importance of self-awareness, take some time to get some brand awareness of what you actually are, what your company actually is, and then run towards that. And don't look back. Don't look left or right. Run straight. Once you figure that out. But it's kind of like your business is in high school, and you hear somebody at the lunchroom table next to you saying they like barbecue, but you're a Vietnamese restaurant and you're trying to figure. I mean, like that example is just funny to me because we do this all of our lives probably. Whether it's us personally trying to figure out who we are, or what we're trying now in this stage of our life, we're trying to figure out what our business is. We are constantly way too concerned about what society is telling us to be, rather than actually listening to ourselves and figuring out what we actually are and being proud of that, and then working every single day to be the best version of what we actually are.
Yeah.
Deep.
That is deep. And I'm also thinking, is life an eternal high school analogy?
Probably. And so it's like Friends, everything happened in your life. Oh, like that one time in high school.
Yeah, you can relate it back.
Oh, like that one Friends episode or Seinfeld or whatever it is.
I don't know. I'm going to go with Friends on this one. Yeah. And by no means are we saying you actually have to pick one thing. Of course, your business will offer several different services. You'll offer several different products. You'll offer several different items on your menu, but all of those things will align with your brand identity.
Let's use Larissa Media for an example.
Yeah.
So like we're a company that's really focused on helping small businesses figure out the internet and how to build their businesses using digital marketing strategies, whether that's website, social media, whatever it is. We are digital, right? This would be a weird thing if we announced tomorrow, hey, we are now offering the service. We're designing newspaper ads.
Yeah.
If you need a newspaper ad designed, think of us.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
Right.
That would be a stretch. That would make not a lot of sense. Or like, hey, we're designing, honestly, anything print would be a weird thing for us.
Right.
But a lot of people make those decisions because they overhear at the supermarket, oh, I saw this newspaper ad. That's just an example for us. Or like, oh, I love their ads in the paper. Oh my, We got to start doing newspaper
Yeah,
ads. I heard
yeah.
somebody say that. And we focus way too much on micro details that we're hearing and not enough on like the macro of what we actually are.
Yeah, and there's always, of course, in small business, there's room for growth, there's room for change, there's room for pivots. Shout out to Friends. That's my Friends reference for today.
Pivot. Still never seen it.
Oh,
Ooh, I just told the
Drew.
internet that I've never
Wow.
seen Friends.
You guys.
This is it. This will be my last podcast. Thank you guys very much for having me.
Yeah. But, you know, not saying you can never change. You've got to pick one thing and do that forever. Certainly, we're encouraging focus and intentionality and being your best self in your business every day. Of course, there's room for growth and all of those things under the umbrella of your brand identity, you know, taking those small risks, or maybe you do decide to make a massive shift in your business. However, don't do that because of one overheard supermarket conversation.
Yeah.
That should be the result of months, maybe years of research, getting data, asking for feedback.
Yeah, like actually talking to your customers.
Yes. Making
Such a stuff that the people overlook that. Such an obvious thing to
Right.
do, but a lot of people don't.
Well, and the reality is, say you have 1,000 customers, maybe there's one of those people that's asking
Yeah.
for something very specific. If you change your entire business based on that one person's request, there are 999 other people who have no use for that new thing. They're
Yeah.
not interested in that new thing. And had you done a little bit of research, you may have learned that. And maybe the best thing you can do for that one individual is be their friend or be a resource to help them get that thing they want.
Yeah. Great example of like a healthy way to do that, like to do a change. Let's keep on the restaurant because I'm hungry
Yeah.
and it makes a lot of
Yes.
sense in this world. So let's say like you are that Vietnamese restaurant and you hear somebody over, maybe even at your restaurant, whatever, you hear the idea of a cheeseburger. Oh, should we make cheeseburgers? No. But you know what you should maybe try to do? Make a Vietnamese version of a cheeseburger and make it amazing.
Sure.
That's a good compromise.
That's a good idea.
You know, like, or whatever it is. If you hear somebody talk about pulled pork, great. Make like a Vietnamese pulled pork dish, you
Sure.
know, and it's still you. You know, that
Yeah.
still makes sense,
Yes.
but that's using influences, ideas from maybe your customers or outside influences to make you better, but at the same time, that still makes sense. That's still you. You know, a banh mi burger is what, I mean, whatever it would be, that still is. Pam's eyes got really big. That sounds good. But like that makes sense. That's a good compromise on how to pivot, but still stay focused on who you are.
Yes. And maybe, and doing that is a risk.
Sure.
Be prepared for the best possible outcome. Be prepared for the least possible outcome. Or that's not what I meant to say. Be prepared for not the greatest outcome.
Sure.
When you take that risk, which still makes sense for your brand, it still makes sense for your restaurant and your business. But keep in mind, it's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have your tried and true banh mi sandwiches. Maybe the banh mi burger is a special in October only.
Yeah. Just try it out.
But yeah, that's a great piece of advice. If you want to do the research, ask your customers, test it out.
Yeah.
So, okay, any other thoughts about finding your niche or how to focus in your passion or how to find your lane and run in it?
It should be a priority.
Yeah.
It should be a priority right off the bat. I
Yeah.
mean, the risk alone of just starting a business is terrifying and a really big deal. Finding out who you are as a person and then finding out as close as soon as possible who you want your business to be needs to be a priority. And then stick to it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you actually believe in it, that stick to it part is a lot easier. So really fully believe in yourself, believe in your business before you start something. But if you're down the road, realize that maybe being everything to everyone like you thought would be a great idea, it's not working. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's an important thing as a business to figure out what you want your business to be. The same way we talked about before, like being self-aware of yourself and who you are is an extremely important step to any type of success.
Yeah. And as the person who has some people pleasing tendencies in the room, I would just say, and this may go without saying for small business owners, but having some thick skin and being okay that you are for your customers, the sun, the moon, and the stars. But that doesn't mean that you are for every single person out there. And that's okay. That's the beauty of small business.
Yeah.
And okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Small Success Podcast. We would actually love to hear from you. We'd love to hear, if you're a small business owner, how did you find your niche? We'd love to hear, what is your niche? What is your business? Would you have any tips or tricks for other small business owners? So, as always, you can find more information about us over at larisonmedia.com. I will link information in the show notes below. I'll also link Dita's direct quote, thanks to our friend Lindsay Ogle, in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.